welcome to the show. I appreciate you tuning in for another brand new episode. So, what are we talking about here tonight? Folks, earlier this week, some disappointing news was announced in the world of the Saw franchise. You might remember the previous installment, Saw X, opened to the critically best reviews since a lot of the earlier installments and a great box office number. It was pretty much a guarantee that we are going to get Saw 11 and continue on in John Kramer's journey with putting people in traps that they're going to have to cut off a pound of flesh to escape. Now, that film, Saw 11, was initially set to debut in September of 2024, only 1 year after Saw X hit screens. But there had not been any new developments in terms of a filming start date, a script being finished, cast being announced, nothing at all. And it puzzled a lot of people because for a franchise that has been going since the early 2000s, it had to stop, obviously, after Saw 7, which at one time was touted as the final chapter. But then we came back with Jigsaw, with Spiral, and then we eventually got the fantastic Saw X. So it wouldn't have been crazy to think that there'd be a little bit more time in between, as that is not a new phenomenon for the Saw franchise at all. But there's been a lot of rumblings behind the scenes about the issues and the infighting going on between producers and a lot of the people that have been on the Saw franchise for a number of years. For those that aren't aware, Lionsgate has famously distributed a grand majority of these Saw movies since the original film. But they don't actually have the legal rights to push a new film into production. The producers of the film are the only ones who can actually do that. And it's a situation because there's more than one. There has to be a wholeheartedly agreement to push this forward, meaning if our producers are in an argument, if they can't come to a conclusion and settle on something together, it doesn't happen. And that's exactly what's happened here in the case of Saw 11, which for all accounts, for all reports, it's being said that this film is officially dead and not moving forward. It's an interesting situation to be in as a fan of the Saw franchise. You know, I got a chance to see all the films past Saw 2 in theaters. And I did even see the first two in theaters as well, but it was a part of a marathon screening they had done when Saw 5 was coming out. But I've seen 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I did not see Jigsaw in theaters, but all the other ones, minus 1, 2, and Jigsaw, I've had a chance to go see in theaters. And it's such a crazy, crazy experience because, as you all know, the entire draw of the Saw franchise is watching the elaborate traps and what the people in them will do to escape them. And they've gotten crazier and crazier with each installment. Even crazier than that is that the Saw franchise is the only horror franchise that I can think of to where they definitively killed off their antagonist or protagonist, however you want to look at it. They've killed their main character off so early in the franchise that the majority of the films afterwards have had to be set post the death of this. That the majority of the films that have come after Saw 3, where Jigsaw was killed, have to feature flashbacks or set somewhat prior to Saw 3 in order to feature franchise star Tobin Bell. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You know, back when Saw 3 came out, which I'm just going to throw a guess was like 2007, maybe 2008. I saw it in theaters. I could not tell you the year it came out. But back around that time that came out there, longevity for horror franchises was something that was very, very much only happening for those franchises that we were getting in the 70s and the 80s. We weren't used to new franchises getting so many entries and having to worry about whether or not like the stars of that would be able to come back for later entries at all. And so Saw 3 was very much expected to be the end of this franchise, and it just kept going on and on and on and on. And this meant that we had introduced new Jigsaw apprentices, as we know that Amanda, played by Shawnee Smith, was the original apprentice and was also killed off in Saw 3. You had Hoffman, played by Costas Mandylor, who was introduced in Saw 3 as well too, and kind of became the de facto antagonist of the franchise moving forward, at least until Jigsaw and Spiral came out. We got a bunch of new like apprentices to fill that spot that Jigsaw couldn't be in. But it also left a lot of fans looking at it like, this is just insane at this point. Like, this man is getting older. Tobin Bell is getting older, but yet and still there's all this unresolved mysteries and all this new information that's sprouting up in order to keep featuring him in the films. And in some aspects that works really well. I've talked about my love of Saw 6. I think it's the best or one of the best in the franchise. Saw X was amazing, and I am a big fan of Spiral, which weirdly enough doesn't feature Tobin Bell in this at all. But we were getting to a point to where we had to move into a film like Spiral that doesn't feature Tobin Bell in the film, or we're gonna have to go back and just keep doing prequel and prequel and prequel. And Saw X went that route, but it gave us a lot more of what the fans were really asking for. And that was more exposure to John Kramer actually running a game, along with Amanda being involved in it too, because the involvement we've gotten from these two really hasn't been as much as you think it would be. We're stuck to bits and pieces of Saw 2 and bits and pieces of Saw 3 to where they're not really getting to play a full game really with anyone being too mobile in it. So Saw X was heavily needed here. But the problem is, as good as Saw X was, the storylines, the plots that were followed in this, along with things that were set up later on in the series, very much left a lot of fans salivating at what Saw 11 could be. Do we finally get that apprentice showdown between Amanda, Hoffman, and, I literally just had his name from Jigsaw. God, y'all gonna kill me about this one because it's on the tip of my tongue and I cannot remember the name there, which I guess shows how memorable the Jigsaw is. But the apprentice from Jigsaw, you know, there was an idea that maybe Saw 11 would feature the three of them having this battle for Jigsaw's legacy. And we know, obviously, due to the way the other movies turn out, there's a very definitive pathway that would have to take. But that seemed the most engaging idea that we could go with this franchise. With that not happening, and if we really do not get a Saw 11, another one in this continuity, then it really is time to wrap up and to go ahead and reboot this franchise. I know a lot of y'all are very much tired of reboots happening, but that's just going to be a thing that's happening in the horror world. And Saw, of all franchises, is probably one that could really benefit from that, simply because of the fact they killed off John Kramer in the third film and still went on to make so many other movies after that that had to feature Kramer in either a very pivotal role or into a small cameo that ultimately just seemed a little silly when you're going back and looking at it. I think by rebooting the Saw franchise, whether or not we get a new version of John Kramer or that shifts over to somebody else, it still gives a chance for producers, the writers, the director to come out with a completely brand new story that allows them to future-proof it in case the franchise does continue to make really good money. They're not ended up cutting off their own knees here by getting rid of the focus of it. So there's some good things that could come out of this franchise being rebooted, but I think the smart idea would be to wait a couple of years here and let everything that was good about Saw X reach its natural conclusion, that fans are fine with that being the goodbye to that franchise, to that iteration of those specific characters. Let it rest, let it die for a bit here, and then let's bring it back fresh and new, not attached. Now I would love for them to do Spiral 2. I think that would be the smart decision, because then you still are allowed to kind of piggyback a bit off the legacy of the franchise without having to worry about bringing in characters like Amanda, like Hoffman, like Jigsaw. We don't need to worry about any of those characters at all. But I seem to be one of the only people who actually enjoyed what Spiral brought to the table, the storylines they pursued with that. I don't think that's likely for us to see a Spiral 2 materialize. So one way or the other, this franchise has to continue, but a new route is definitely where it's going to excel. Let me know what you're thinking, though. I'm curious your thoughts on where the Saw franchise should go. Do we stay in the current continuity and make a film that's based around those apprentices? Do we follow Spiral 2? Do you want something new? Let me know in the comment section what you're looking for here out of the Saw franchise. Because even with this disappointing news, I'm sure there's still going to be a lot to look forward to here in the next few years with Saw. But make sure you're subscribed to my link tree so you can stay up to date with any updates I have in that world there for you. You can get subscribed at linktr.ee/T Scary Movie. If you get subscribed, that's going to be access to the YouTube page for the video versions of the show, your favorite podcasting platforms, the audio only versions of the show, to my letterbox page for written reviews and movie rankings throughout the year, to my TikTok page for full episodes, movie news, and movie premieres, my Twitch page for horror gaming, and my Fangoria shop page where you can get a 20% discount off anything in the Fangoria shop. Take advantage of that, folks. Hit that subscribe button, and I'm going to have more great horror content coming out for you here very, very soon. You don't want to miss any of that at all, but that's going to do it for me tonight, folks. I appreciate you tuning in. My name is T. We've been talking scary movies. Stay scared.